The first time I noticed something off, it was a typo on a purchase order. Not a big one. Just a decimal point in the wrong place, $4,500 instead of $450. But when you've worked in internal audit for 6 years like I had, you start seeing patterns, the way other people see colors. My name is Lauren Kim, and back then, I was the last person anyone paid attention to in that office. I wasn't flashy. I wasn't friends with the VPs. I didn't have expensive handbags or Friday night drinks with the inner circle, but I saw everything. I had to. My job was simple. Check the numbers, confirm the flow of funds, flag inconsistencies, and something wasn't adding up. The vendor was unfamiliar, listed as Tyrotech Global LLC, a name I had never encountered in any of our past budgets. When I dug deeper, I found the company had only been added to our system 2 months ago. It didn't exist in our official supplier database, but there it was, logging tens of thousands in consulting fees. Something about that word always makes me suspicious. Still, I didn't jump to conclusions. I started slow, comparing entries, dates, and digital signatures. Over the next 2 weeks, I discovered that Tyrotech had received over $280,000 in payments. No contracts, no SOWs, no recorded services. And the approving officer? VP of Finance, Michael Larson, my manager's manager. The guy who never looked anyone under 40 in the eye unless they were in stilettos. I documented everything carefully. Screenshots, time-stamped ledger exports, invoice images, even the audit log showing who created and approved each file. At first, I thought it would be a clean report, just a case of someone being lazy with documentation. I thought I was helping, so I submitted it to HR and flagged it for ethics review. That was a Monday. By Friday, I was pulled into a restructuring conversation. "Lauren, this isn't a reflection of your work," said my manager, avoiding eye contact like his life depended on it. "We're just reevaluating departmental priorities. We've decided to move you into a more transactional role." Translation? I'd be monitoring expense reports and office supply orders. A glorified filing clerk, no more audits, no more systems access, no more visibility. I sat there, nodding slowly, the sound of my heartbeat in my ears. "You're retaining your salary," he added, like that was generous. "We appreciate your loyalty." Loyalty. I walked out of that glass office with a folder in my hand and my heart like stone. That night, I didn't sleep. I went over my steps again and again. I had followed protocol. I had submitted everything confidentially. And somehow, they'd still come for me. 2 weeks into my demotion, I got a LinkedIn message from a former coworker. She didn't work in audit. She'd been in accounts payable. She said she saw what happened, and that I wasn't the only one who'd noticed Tyrotech. Check came in registry. Tyrotech, hire something shady, but keep quiet. I stared at her message for nearly 5 minutes. Then I opened a new browser window, changed my VPN location, and searched the Cayman Islands corporate entity registry, Tyrotech Global LLC. Registered to a Jameson E. Rhodes, a shell company. No employees, no website, just a string of wire transfers from the company I worked for. Right into a Caribbean hole. I cross-checked the name in our HR system. There it was. Jameson E. Rhodes, CEO of Rhodes Consolidated Holdings, my company's founder. I sat back in my chair, breath caught in my throat. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This wasn't even a rogue VP. This was the top. And now, I was officially the enemy. There's something disorienting about returning to a workplace that just betrayed you. The air feels thinner, colder, and every smile has a second face behind it. After being moved to the expense monitoring role, I was given a new desk, wedged near the printer, facing a wall. My old monitors were gone. No more dual screens, no more admin access to the audit systems I used to live in. They thought they'd buried me in obscurity. What they didn't know was that the moment I was silenced, I became more dangerous. Monday, 8:07 a.m. I got in early. Not to prove myself, but to run a test. I opened the internal finance directory. No. Audit rights, but I could still view basic vendor profiles. I searched Tyrotech Global LLC again. Nothing. It was scrubbed, not deactivated, erased. As if it had never existed. But they missed something. In our system, deleted vendors don't vanish instantly. They get archived into an encrypted audit cache called FinLog PTR, which updates every 30 days. I remembered the patch note from the last update. I even helped test it. And although I couldn't access the vault anymore, I knew someone who could. Anna Morales, IT security analyst. The kind of woman who kept her headphones on at all times and played Call of Duty on her lunch breaks. We used to chat about coffee beans and how boring the annual compliance meetings were. I found her in the break room, hunched over her thermos. "Hey, Anna. Got a weird one for you." She blinked slowly, lowered her earbuds. "If it's another VP who can't log into SharePoint, I swear..." "Nope," I said quietly. Internal records vanished. Vendor profile, Tyrotech. Can you check the Fin logs? Her eyebrows lifted, just slightly. "You're not on audit anymore." "I know." She stared at me for a long second. Then, "I'll text you, if I find anything." By that evening, I had the confirmation. Anna M. Vendor was there 2 weeks ago. Deleted. Logs show. Override from exec layer. Only 3 people have that access level. You, me, and the CEO's chief of staff. Anna M. Also, payments rerouted. Tyrotech closed. Now it's Roadie Solutions. New shell, same account routing. They were laundering money in plain sight. And rebuilding the trail as I tracked it. It made my stomach twist. This wasn't just fraud. This was sustained, intentional corruption involving top-level executives, and they thought I was buried. The next move had to be careful, clean, invisible. I made a burner Gmail, not from my phone, too risky. I used the community library down, the street. No cookies, no trace. I created a folder on a password-encrypted USB drive labeled birthday photos. Inside it, I compiled everything Anna and I had collected. Archived vendor payment screenshots, deleted log files. The offshore registry match with Jameson E. Rhodes's name. The renamed shell company a timeline of fund movement. Broken down by fiscal quarter, I labeled the file. Internal fraud summary. Stage 1. Then I sent a message to someone I hadn't spoken to in 5 years. Subject: tip submission, urgent, to investigations, northwatchnews.com. Attachment: internal fraud summary. Stage 1. Message: you don't know me, but I've read your work. I've seen how you handled the Everett Pharma case. This isn't a leak for fame. This is systemic, CEO-level theft through laundering. I've worked there for 6 years. I have more if you want it, but I need protection. Call me LK. Use Signal, not email. That night, I stared at my phone. No reply. No ping. Just my own reflection in the dark screen. Then, at 2:14 a.m., It vibrated once. Unknown. Signal contact. Got your files. This goes deeper than fraud. I'll call you tomorrow. If what you say is true, we're going to need everything you've got. I was in, but I wasn't safe. Not yet. The first thing I noticed when I got to work the next morning was that the executive floor was quiet. Too quiet. Michael Larson's glass-walled office usually buzzed with tension. His assistant pacing, his phone calls loud enough to echo into the hallway. But today, the door was shut, blinds drawn, and 2 security personnel stood posted by the elevators. Not casually either, like something had happened. I kept walking. I didn't stop. Didn't ask. 10:17 a.m. My desk phone rang. That was strange in itself. No one called me directly anymore. Lauren. Kim? Yes. This is Janet Green, Chief of Staff to Mr. Rhodes. The CEO would like a brief word with you this afternoon. 2:30 p.m., Conference Room 8C. I blinked. Just me? Yes. Shouldn't take long. Click. I sat frozen. Then slowly hung up the phone. It wasn't just the CEO calling me in. It was his right hand, the same one who signed off on the vendor deletions Anna found in the logs. I was being called into the lion's mouth. I took lunch outside, left my phone behind, carried the second USB, the decoy one, with just basic files. No real-time stamps, no incriminating metadata. I wore a smartwatch, but the microphone had been fried. I'd taken no chances. Before I returned to the building, I texted Anna. Me. 2:30 MTG with CEO's office. If I don't message by 3:15, something's wrong. Her reply came instantly. Anna. Got you. 2:28 p.m. Conference Room 8C sat at the far end of the executive wing. Glass doors, minimalist chairs, abstract art nobody understood. The windows faced west, letting the sun cast long shadows across the white walls. When I stepped in, Janet Green was already seated. Flawless blazer, diamond studs, a face that never gave anything away. Lauren, she said with a small nod. Thank you for coming. I sat slowly across from her. She opened a leather folio and placed 2 sheets in front of me. NDA, Internal Conduct Addendum. We've had concerns regarding some of your recent activity. Document downloads. Vendor log access beyond your clearance level. Attempts to contact. Media outlets. All of which, she paused, folding her hands, are very serious matters under our confidentiality policies. I didn't blink. You're accusing me of a breach? We're offering you a chance to stay employed. Quietly. No further involvement. In exchange, you'll sign this today and turn in any related documents, physical or digital. All of Mo. Them. I looked down at the forms. Her name already signed at the bottom. Do I have a lawyer present? I asked softly. You're not under legal review, she replied, her voice like ice. This is internal risk mitigation. Right. Corporate. Translation. Sign this and vanish, or we'll bury you in process. I lifted my eyes to hers. Is this about Tyrotech? I asked. Her left brow twitched, barely. We don't comment on vendor matters. I see. I leaned back slowly. Then I took the pen and signed. But what she didn't know was the document I signed, not the one she gave me. I'd swapped it under the table while she was speaking. The one I signed had no legal value. It was a photocopy. The real one, still unsigned, was in my blazer pocket. Back at my desk, I messaged Anna. Me. They tried to force an NDA, said they were tracking my log activity. Anna. They're not bluffing. Your name came up in yesterday's security memo. Anna. Also, Michael Larson's account was suspended this morning. Fraud investigation. No announcement yet. I sat there, heart racing. Michael was being cut off, which meant the CEO was cleaning house. Quietly. Blame shifting. Isolating the scandal to middle management. If he got ahead of the leak, I'd be erased in the fallout. Unless I moved first. That night, I met the journalist. His name was Daniel Rhodes, an investigative reporter who looked more like a tired grad student than a professional disruptor, wore flannel, smelled like cheap diner coffee, and carried a manila envelope like it was treasure. Your files were clean, he said. You didn't just catch fraud, you caught international laundering. I said nothing, just watched him. He handed me a printed list. Here's what I found since you sent the offshore accounts. There are 5 more shell companies registered across Barbados, Cyprus, Luxembourg, and Delaware. All trace back to subsidiaries of Rhodes Consolidated Holdings. He looked up. This goes way beyond your department. We're talking board level, corruption, SEC violations, potential RICO case if we get lucky. I exhaled slowly. This was no longer just revenge. This was a collapse in motion, and I was at the center of it. By Wednesday morning, the whispers had started. No official email had gone out, but Michael Larson's office was already being packed into plain brown boxes by 2 people from facilities. One was shredding files. The other was quietly disconnecting his workstation. Just like that, he was gone. The man who once barked orders at interns and told me to smile more in Q3 review. Meetings erased from the system like he never existed. But it wasn't justice. It was a sacrifice. Rhodes was burning his pawns to keep the empire clean. 2 a.m. I received an automated notification in my inbox. System alert. Access request to employee health and performance records. Lauren Kim requested by Janet Green. Approved by CEO override health records. They were laying groundwork. In corporate HR strategy, when you can't terminate someone for cause, you document them into voluntary resignation. You build a file. You use wellness checks, stress leave recommendations, performance notices, anything that paints the target as unstable, emotional, or incompetent. They were going to institutionalize my silence, but I was ready. That evening, Daniel and I met in a parking lot in Koreatown. We sat in his car, doors locked, heater running low. Need the board list, I told him. Not the public one, the private subsidiary delegation, the ones who sign off on investment channels. Daniel nodded, reached into the glove box, and passed me a thick folder. These people know, or chose not to know. But there's a reason. Rhodes kept moving the money offshore. He didn't just want to hide profits. He's trying to protect his board members' exposure. I flipped through the names. One of them made my hand go cold. Meredith Chan, independent board advisor, and my godmother. She'd known me since I was a kid. My mom's old friend from undergrad. She sent me cards every holiday growing up. And yet, she was listed as the offshore proxy contact for 2 of the shell companies. I don't think she knows everything, I whispered. Daniel shrugged. Then she's still in the way. Thursday, 2:12 p.m. Back at work, I was summoned again. This time to HR, not the CEO's office. A woman I didn't recognize waited with a warm smile and a clipboard. "Lauren, we're just doing a quick wellness follow-up," she said. "Your manager mentioned you've seemed a bit overwhelmed lately." Here it was. The gaslight phase. "I'm fine," I said simply. She tilted her head. Sometimes even strong performers struggle to adjust to new roles. And this reclassification, well, it was quite a shift, wasn't it? I didn't speak. She flipped her clipboard, showing me a pre-filled employee support recommendation form. Proposed action, paid 2-week leave, noted concern, behavioral stress, role disengagement supervisor. Signature. Pending. They wanted me off the premises. Out of sight. Discredited. I smiled faintly. "If you need me to take leave, I'll consider it." "Great," she chirped. I took the form and left. What she didn't know was, I already had a meeting booked at a federal office the next day. Friday, 10:03 a.m. U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Local field office. Daniel had pulled strings. The woman who met me, Agent Renee Torres, was sharp-eyed and said little. She offered no coffee, no warmth, just precision. "This isn't our first whisper about Rhodes Consolidated," she said flatly. "But you've brought more than evidence. You've brought methodology. That's what matters." She tapped my file. "Can you testify?" "I can." She looked me dead in the eye. "And can you survive it?" I wanted to say yes. That I wasn't afraid. That I was a warrior in heels and blazer armor. But the truth was, my hands were shaking. I was scared. Not just of Rhodes, but of the silence that might follow. Of what I would lose. Of who I'd become. But I nodded anyway. Because some betrayals are too big to swallow. The Monday after the SEC meeting, the building felt like it was under siege, but no one knew it yet. People moved through the halls smiling, sipping lattes, planning Q2 goals. But I could see the subtle tremors. HR had gone quiet. Department. Heads were taking sudden personal days. 2 of our senior project leads were out on wellness leave. The whispers were no longer just whispers. The walls were listening. 10:31 a.m. My badge flickered red at the side entrance. I tried again. Denied. Then my work phone buzzed. "Your access has been temporarily disabled for building maintenance. Please report to the HR suite for clearance." Bull. There was no maintenance scheduled for my floor today. This was it. The containment phase. If I hadn't gone to the SEC already, this would have been the moment they boxed me out. Quietly, cleanly, before I caused too much trouble. But I had moved too fast for them. The evidence was no longer just in my hands. And now the storm was coming for them. 10:07 p.m. Northwatch News. Breaking update. Major federal investigation underway at Rhodes Consolidated Holdings. Anonymous sources close to the matter report large-scale corporate fraud, offshore laundering, and internal retaliation. A whistleblower has reportedly provided federal regulators with detailed financial pathways and compliance violations. No. Executives have commented at this time. I read it twice. Then the company group chat lit up. Wait, what? Are we getting raided? Who's the whistleblower? Michael was right, wasn't he? I didn't respond. I closed Slack. And then my personal phone rang. Not Daniel, not Anna, Meredith Chan, my godmother. Meredith. We need to talk, privately. Me. You should be careful calling me. Meredith. You think I don't know what's happening? I know who started this. I also know what Rhodes is planning to do next. And if you don't listen to me, they're going to bury you, Lauren, for good. I didn't breathe. Me. Then talk. We met in a dim corner of a museum cafe, where nobody had to pretend to like each other. Meredith wore her usual structured blazer, hair pinned up, face pale under the soft light. There are directors panicking, she said, sliding her tea aside. Rhodes is moving assets, fast, liquidating holdings through dummy charities in Geneva and Buenos Aires. The board's been told it's a strategic pivot, but I've seen the wire routes. He's protecting himself. She looked up at me, eyes searching. I didn't know everything, I swear, but I saw just enough, and I didn't ask questions. I said nothing. And now, she whispered, he's planning to pin the whole thing on Michael, on you, and on 2 other junior-level staffers. A clean sweep. He's writing a narrative where this was a rogue faction, and he's already drafted an internal statement saying the whistleblower falsified documents. I clenched my jaw. Then he's going to settle, quietly, with the SEC. Just a fine, no trial, no confession. No truth, I said bitterly. Meredith reached into her purse and handed me a thumb drive. Full call logs. Executive board sessions. One file has a recorded call between Rhodes and legal. He says your name. My stomach turned. She leaned forward, voice low. This is your leverage. Use it wisely. Tuesday morning, 5:59 a.m. A black car pulled up outside. The office. Not a town car. Not a client visit, federal agents. 4 of them. By 9:03 a.m., 3 members of the executive suite had been escorted out, briefcases untouched, faces red and trembling. I stood at my desk, frozen. No one spoke. Just the hum of disbelief in the air. And then one of the agents glanced in my direction, gave the smallest nod. I didn't nod back. I didn't smile. I just turned to my monitor and opened my inbox. New message. From U.S. SEC Office. Subject. Confirmed. Protection in place. Your statement has been received and classified. You are now under whistleblower protection. Any further retaliation will be legally actionable. I exhaled. Once. Then I forwarded the email to HR. With the subject line, for your records. I didn't go home that night. Not out of fear. Strategy. Stayed at a hotel 2 cities over. Booked under a name I hadn't used in years. No digital trail. No credit card tied to my main account. I powered off my phone and left it in the nightstand drawer. Because if Rhodes was as desperate as I believed he was, this wasn't over. It was going to get ugly, and I wasn't going to flinch. Wednesday, 8:42 a.m. I returned to the office dressed as if nothing had happened. Blazer, simple heels. Hair slicked back. Same badge, which now lit green again, though I had no illusion of safety. As I passed the reception desk, I noticed something odd. The receptionist, Maya, looked up, startled. Lauren, you're not on the list. What? List? She hesitated. For the leadership roundtable. It's happening right now. Every department rep is there. I raised an eyebrow. Including finance? She nodded. Even HR. But not me. They were planning something, and they didn't. Want witnesses. I moved quickly. straight to the 19th floor. Daniel had given me a portable audio relay, secure, tiny, shaped like a broken key fob. I slipped it under the doorframe of the conference room and waited in the empty IT nook across the hall. Voices streamed into my ear in real time. Rhodes. Need to control the damage. We'll position this as a systemic failure, not individual criminality. The junior employee, Lauren, she acted independently, well outside her role. She was unstable. Her medical file supports it. Board member. She's already in whistleblower protection. Rhodes. She won't survive a public inquiry. One leak about her behavior, one anonymous claim, and she'll be written off as disgruntled. I have 3 internal affidavits already. We just need to finalize the legal framing. Another voice interrupted him. Steadier. Female. Cold. Meredith. She's smarter than you think, Jameson. And she's got more than files. She has names, mine, yours, every one of us who looked away. So before you take another step, you'd better be absolutely sure you'll still be standing when the fire gets here. Silence. Long, heavy silence. And then Rhodes muttered, barely audible. Then we burn it down. Then 14 a.m., the building's internet crashed, servers offline, security fob failure, access disabled. Employees locked out of shared drives, project files, even payroll phones blew up, and within 15 minutes, an anonymous email hit every inbox in the company. Subject line, they lied. Inside, leaked vendor contracts, wire transfers. Board. Approval votes, audio clips, names, dates, CEO authorization stamps. It was everything. Everything I had collected. Everything Daniel had verified. Everything Meredith had finally handed over. And none of it was sent by me, because I didn't have to. Daniel had set up a dead man trigger. If anything happened to me, if I disappeared, went silent, or stopped responding for over 12 hours, it would all release. Turns out, Rhodes pulled the trigger himself. The building erupted. Employees screamed. Phones rang off the hook. Legal teams ran into rooms with armfuls of folders in zero direction. Half of HR left through the back stairwell. By noon, the company's stock froze. By 1:15, trading halted, and by 2 p.m., Rhodes was gone, resigned, effective immediately. No public comment, no camera flash, no apology, just vanished. But I didn't vanish. Thursday morning, 8:00 a.m. I walked into the boardroom, with Meredith beside me. She held the envelope confirming the interim restructuring vote. The only sound was the slow clicking of pens and throat clearing from the board. I stood at the head of the table, where Rhodes once sat. And then I opened my mouth and said, I'm not here to rebuild your image. I'm here to rebuild your integrity. And if any one of you thinks I won't tear this entire building down to do it, ask yourself, how many more drives do I still have? No one answered, because they already knew. A resignation doesn't heal a company. It leaves a vacuum, and every vacuum pulls in shadows. After Rhodes disappeared, the company froze like a dropped glass of wine, everyone trying to avoid the stain they knew was spreading. The board issued a scripted statement about leadership changes, new compliance frameworks, and a deep commitment to rebuilding trust. HR sent out wellness links and encouraged everyone to take space if needed. But no one offered space to me, only silence and eyes. They weren't curious. They were calculating. Monday, 9:02 a.m. I was appointed head of internal compliance strategy, a title that meant nothing and everything. No formal announcement. Just a locked memo sent to directors and executive leads. Meredith handed me the office. Key herself. It was Rhodes's old corner suite, but stripped bare, no art, no framed ego. Just frosted glass, and that same panoramic view of a city still moving, still blind. "You earned this," she said softly. I looked around. "No, I built this." But power is its own kind of danger, because once you're inside the system, you realize how deep the rot runs. I didn't get handshakes in the hallway. I got polite nods and veiled glances. Every project lead who once ignored my emails now CC'd legal on every message. And the ones who'd benefited from Rhodes's quiet bonuses? They played the long game, agreeing to my face, undermining in group chats I wasn't supposed to know existed. And I felt it. The resentment. The whispered belief that I had destroyed the company just to rise. But I hadn't destroyed anything. I just exposed the fuse. Wednesday, 3:18 p.m. The first whistleblower report came in. Not from me, from someone else. Junior-level marketing analyst reported that her director had manipulated digital ad results and billed third-party work as in-house to pad campaign ROI. The email came directly to me. The subject line simply read, "I saw what you did. Please help." I stared at the message for a long time, because this was why I stayed. Not to wear a title, not to lead compliance, but to build a space where truth didn't cost your career. I launched the investigation myself, discreetly, thoroughly. And when the proof came in, I didn't leak it. I didn't go to the press. I brought it to the boardroom, dropped the file on the table and said, "We deal with this, openly, without spin, or I walk." They debated for 2 days. On the third, the director was fired, and the junior analyst promoted, but justice doesn't come without a price. By Friday, a rumor started that I had a list, that I was going office to office collecting names, digging through files like some internal spy. People began scrubbing their emails. Some even started sending anonymous HR complaints about me. One said I was creating a hostile environment. Another said I had a vendetta against senior staff. A third said I was unstable, overly aggressive, and vindictive. I forwarded them all to legal. And then I called Daniel. He picked up on the second ring. "Me. They're shifting the narrative." Again. Daniel. "Of course they are. That's what systems do when you mess with the gears." Me. "I want to release everything." He paused. "All of it?" "Yes." "Even what Meredith gave you?" I hesitated. That part included board complicity, the very people who had reluctantly let me rebuild. Me. Everything. By Sunday, it was done. A 47-page exposé published under Daniel's name, with every citation, record, audio clip, and timestamp included. We didn't bury names. We didn't soften truths. We burned the last layer of protection off the company's legacy. And I walked into work Monday morning knowing there was no going back. Not to the way it was. Not to who I used to be, and that's when I saw it. On the wall outside the break room, a post-it, written in fine Sharpie. "Clean hands don't mean clean floors." But we see you. Thank you. L the night before the final board. Vote. I couldn't sleep. I watched the city flicker from my high-rise window, lights blinking like quiet warnings. Somewhere down there, people were living ordinary lives, planning dinner, folding laundry, wondering whether to go out or stay in, and I was up here, preparing to dismantle the last lie. The fallout from the exposé was nothing short of a reckoning. 3 board members resigned. 1 was subpoenaed. And Meredith? She stayed, publicly, cleared but permanently marked. The company's stock didn't just drop, it plummeted. Investors pulled out. Partners distanced themselves. The media circled like wolves, hungry for guilt and glitter. Every interview request they sent me, I declined, because this wasn't about headlines. It never was. Friday, 8:00 a.m. I arrived to find a letter slid under my door. Handwritten. Short. You burned down a kingdom to build a village. I hope you find peace in the ashes. M. I folded it once, tucked it into my coat, and walked into the meeting. The boardroom smelled of cold air and worn-out ambition. There were only 6 of them left. Old men in tailored suits and older women in polished denial. They looked at me like I was a storm that refused to pass. And in a way, I was. We're voting today, one of them said, to determine your role moving forward. Public confidence is fractured. Staff morale is unstable. Your continued leadership is controversial. I nodded. So vote. They did. 5 votes in, 3 for reinstatement, 2 for termination. Then the final hand rose, shaking, uncertain. Meredith. She looked at me for a long moment. Eyes rimmed, red, mascara smudged at the corners. Then she lowered her hand. Abstain. The room went silent, and just like that, it was over. I wasn't fired. I wasn't crowned. I was just done. Because I finally understood. The only way to fix the machine was to walk away from it entirely. 2 months later, I opened the door to a small co-working office across town. Clean walls, 2 desks, a whiteboard, nothing fancy, but real. And on the frosted glass outside, the Ledger Project, a non-profit committed to corporate transparency and whistleblower advocacy. Anna joined first, then the junior analyst, then 3 others, each from companies with their own silent wars. We weren't loud, but we were honest, and this time I didn't need a badge to be heard. I got a letter last week from someone still inside Rhodes Consolidated. It had no signature, just a message typed in courier font. They still pretend you ruined everything, but secretly, they check the books twice now. You didn't destroy the system. You scared it into remembering its soul.